Your I can statement for today is I can determine the area of a rectangle. Area of a rectangle or area of any shape means that you're determining the measurement of the space inside of a shape. So basically how much in this picture, how much space or yardage there is in this garden. So your problem today says Jenny has a rectangular garden. What is the area of her garden? And we're able to determine that because we're looking for the area of a rectangle. So I want you to take a minute and see if you can work this out before I show you how to solve it. So I just want you to take a minute. When you're ready, you can hit the next button on your notes, but I want you to take a minute and see if you can figure this out. Okay, so when we're determining the area of a rectangle, we want to take the length times the width of the rectangle, or base times height. So I'm going to go ahead and do my cubing strategy. I'm going to circle any key numbers, so 5/4 and 2/3. I'm going to underline the question. I'm going to box any keywords. I'm going to eliminate anything that we don't need. And then I'm going to solve. So in order to determine an area, the first thing that you need to know is that you are looking for length times width. Okay, so the L stands for length and the W stands for width. So the length of one side times the width of another. And we know that in a rectangle, opposite sides are not only parallel, but they're also equivalent. So for example, this side of your rectangle is 5/4. And since it's directly across or parallel, we know that this side, even though it's not labeled, has a measurement of 5/4. Same thing with the 2/3 side. This side is labeled 2/3, which means that directly across from it, this side here would also be 2/3 because the sides across from it are parallel and equivalent. So essentially, if you wanted to, if you hadn't noticed the pattern, you could add up all four of these sides because you know that this side is 2/3 and this side is 5/4. You could essentially, if you wanted to, add up all four sides to determine your area. However, you can also just multiply the two sides that are given to you. So I'm going to rewrite the equation down here. We have 5/4, 5/4 times 2/3. And when we're multiplying fractions, you all demonstrated understanding that you knew how to multiply fractions. We just multiply across the top and the bottom. So it's different than adding, where we leave our denominator the same and only add our numerators. In multiplication of fractions, we multiply both the numerator and the denominator just straight across. A lot of people find that multiplying fractions is easier than adding fractions. So if you agree, that's great. If not, let me know and we can talk about it. So I got 5/4 from my length or my width of the rectangle, and I got 2/3 from my length of the, or width of the rectangle. So 5 times 2, I multiply across. 5 times 2 is 10. And 4 times 3 is 12. So right now I have 10/12 as my area. I'm going to put YD for yard. 10/12 as my area. So I want you to try this problem on your own. And the question says to determine the area of the blue shaded rectangle. So you're not answering the question you're not finding the area for the entire square. You're finding it for this blue shaded rectangle. In order to solve this, I would have set up an equation that looks like this: 3/10 times 4/5, because I know that in order to find area, I'm multiplying length times width. So I also know that I multiply across, and 3 times 4 is 12, and 10 times 5 is 50, 50. So then I kind of have a choice. I can leave it as is or reduce, and I'll let you try and reduce right now. They both can divide by 2. So I have 6, or 12 divided by 2 is 6. And 50 divided by 2 is 25. I want you to try this last problem. Find the area of a rectangle with a side length of 7/2 centimeters, or 7 seconds centimeters, and 5/4 centimeters. So what I did was set up an equation, 7/2 times 5/4. Oh, sorry, my handwriting is terrible. Whew. So then I have 7 times 5 is 35. Excuse me. And 4 times 2 is 8. And here you can see we have an improper fraction. So now we need to figure out how many times 8 can go into 35 without going over. Go ahead and try and solve that. So you should have gotten 4 times. We know 8 times 4 is 32, which would mean that there's 3/8 left over. And that would be your final answer. Okay, if you have any questions, make sure that you come and see me at my table, or Miss Fisher, and also be sure that you're doing your formative carefully and watching for your feedback.